Let's get it on a Victory Monday on 580 Sports Talk. We couldn't leave the people hanging, even if Kansas State basketball insists on preempting us. We got what the people want. We're bringing it to the people on a YouTube-only edition of 580 Sports Talk today. This is the first. This is new. This is fun. Thanks for being with us here on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on Facebook, WIBW News. We have the video stream going. If you turn your radio on right now, you're not going to hear us. You're going to hear Jake Eisenberg calling K-State women's basketball from Las Vegas, and then you're going to hear the K-State men's game, because K-State men wouldn't do us a favor and just beat Liberty last night. No, they had to go and lose. So now they got the consolation game this afternoon, and that's going to preempt, along with the ongoing women's game, 580 Sports Talk on terrestrial radio today on 580 WIBW FM 104.9. But it will not preempt us from giving you an episode of 580 Sports Talk live on YouTube. We're so glad you're with us. Thanks for hanging out. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, Spencer Dupuis will be like Cosmo Kramering this episode at some point. He's going to like careen in with his thoughts at some point or another. But the gang will be all here at some point. We're going to do this for about an hour and a half, give or take. We're going to leave it all on the floor today. We're just going to get all our takes out about the sports weekend that was, because we could not leave you people hanging on a Victory Monday today.
I also, to further the Seinfeld references, since we are online only and we are not really beholden to the FCC at this point, I got a lot of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people, and now you're going to hear about it. And you people is Kansas State basketball, first and foremost. And secondly, it's the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line. Those are the people I have grievances with today.
We're gonna celebrate a Festivus, apparently.
Where's the poll?
Festivus has come early this year
I need a poll to
580 Sports Talk. We're gonna talk Chiefs. We're gonna talk K-State football, KU football, both of whom gaining big wins on Saturday. Royals made a trade like 30 minutes after we went off the air on Friday. We're gonna get to that as well. Tell you about the newest Kansas City Royal. Matt Verderame will join us bottom of the hour like he always does on a Monday on 580 Sports Talk. We don't have a lot of airtime this week. We're off for Thanksgiving. We're off the day after Thanksgiving. So we got to seize the moment. We got to carpe this diem and do a little show today, again, for the web-only audience. We appreciate you being along. As Paul alludes, technically speaking, we are in no way beholden to FCC regulations. We could swear. We could say whatever the hell we want.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm tempted. Like, this is the call of the void right here. Like,
Yeah.
I just feel this innate desire to say the things I've been wanting to say about Scott Drew and Eli Drinkwitz for a long time. The things that have previously only existed in group chats.
I have this nagging voice in my head. I think the term for it is a conscience. And that's going to keep me from just peppering today's show with casual profanity.
Now, here's an important thought. They say that character is who you are when no one's watching. So it is not a negative reflection on our character when everyone is watching. We're only being watched.
We are only being watched.
So there's no element of nobody watching right now. So it's not a reflection of our character.
Right.
We could say all sorts of MFs all over the place.
We could.
MFs and BSs, and it's not a reflection of us.
Yeah.
Based on that proverb.
That is a good point. Flip side, what if my mother sees? the constant battle being waged, the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other, raging within us as we do this online-only edition of 580 Sports Talk. And don't despair if you miss it live. Of course, it will be archived on our YouTube page, 580 Sports Talk, and on our Facebook page, WIBW News. We thank everybody who's catching up on this a little later on. Maybe you have no idea. Maybe you're watching this like 3-4 hours from now. That's part of your routine. You're not able to catch the show live. You catch it a few hours later, and you weren't even aware we were preempted today. And so you're just catching up and going, oh, weird. They're a lot more relaxed today than they might usually be. The commercial breaks are way shorter. Yeah, they don't exist. If we go on commercial break today, it's just because we're tired of talking for a couple of minutes.
Now, I will say this. If you wanted to sponsor commercial breaks or anything else on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel,
call him.
Give us a call.
Holler at your boy. We'd
be happy to acquiesce.
We are 100% for sale here.
No, that's entirely certain. Like, if you ever have been like, man, I wish my company was on the air. Well, boy, do I have some good news for you. And it's me. I can help you out with that.
Yes, you can.
Hit me up.
Call us up. Ask for Brendan. Anyway, it's
and anyone who picks up will go, why?
Anyway, we're going to do a show like we would normally do a show today. We're going to start with our Chiefs reaction. Chiefs are 10-1, but it's a subdued victory Monday after their performance in Carolina. The Chiefs' performance wasn't good enough, and if you don't believe me, ask them. Their reaction, I thought, was extremely telling, and we'll get into that. We'll get into all things Chiefs plus NFL Week 12 with Matt Verderame. He'll join us at the bottom of the hour. We'll do good, bad, ugly from the sports weekend that was. I'll spill water on the console here. Not actually.
Doesn't matter. Internet only. It's all fair game. You can spill water wherever you want. Nothing is real on the internet.
Pour it out all over the place. We will talk KU, K-State. Great wins on Saturday for both the Jayhawks and the Wildcats. And I got to ask the question at this point. Right this second, are the Kansas Jayhawks the best football team in the Big 12? I think the answer might be yes. I think they might be better than either of the two teams that are going to play for the Big 12 championship game. Because we know Kansas won't be one of them. But whoever it ends up being.
Yeah, the one team in the league that's not still eligible to make the title game.
The team you don't want to play is the team that won't get there. There is, I saw this today, a grand total of 0 teams who control their own destiny. Every team in the Big 12 needs a win and help.
Which seems impossible.
It does.
It doesn't seem like that should be the case.
I mean, and the unbalanced scheduling and how big these leagues are, it leads to a lot of confusion. Like last week when the Big Ten on Thursday was like, oh, hey, by the way, we just crunched the numbers. And congratulations, Oregon. You're in the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah, it's the middle of the week. Oh, hey, by the way.
A little news stuff.
Congrats.
Yeah, so there is still a path for Kansas State. It involves a win and some help. That is true for them and 8 other teams in the 16-team Big 12. More than half the league still alive for a trip to Arlington based on the results of this past weekend. We will get into that. We will talk some Royals. You can text us if you want, 785-272-9429. But if you're watching live on YouTube, why don't you make use of that YouTube live chat feature? It's right there next to the video. You can type your thoughts in. We love to see those. We got Mark H. hanging out. Jason's with us. Paul K. Christopher is in here today. And welcome to them. And welcome to everybody who will join us. Drop your thoughts in the live chat. Interact with us. Interact with your fellow listeners here on 580 Sports Talk. Let's start with the Chiefs, shall we? Chiefs 30, Panthers 27. Chiefs go to 10-1. Spencer Schrader, the hero. So the kicker was not familiar, but the ending certainly was for the Chiefs as they get the last-second field goal. There was never a question, even after Carolina tied the game, if the Chiefs got the ball back, there did not feel like any kind of doubt that the Chiefs were going to go down and score. It was just, how were they going to make it work? And it turned out that the how was a 33-yard scramble by Patrick Mahomes being the big play on the drive. So 30-27 the final, and if you told me before the game the Chiefs were going to score 30, I would have thought we would have had a very relaxing afternoon. It would have been a very relaxing afternoon across the Chiefs' kingdom, I thought, if the Chiefs put up 30 points. And they did. They made it look easy. They scored on 6 of their 8 drives, only really scoring a field goal on that last drive because that was all they needed there in the time crunch. Very easily could have gone down and scored even more points if time were not a factor. The offense was terrific. They were efficient. They ran the ball well. They had a couple of explosive run plays, 10-plus yard run plays. Mahomes himself had a couple of those. Noah Gray, another big day. Mahomes looked sharp. They got the ball to their best guys, Kelsey and Hopkins and Gray and Worthy. The offense cooked. The offense is rounding into form. They're going to get Isaiah Pacheco back, and the running game's going to have even more pop, pun absolutely intended, when Pacheco returns. I have good things to say right now about the state of the Kansas City Chiefs offense, which is a good thing because the rest of the operation, particularly the defense, these are the numbers. This is pretty mind-boggling. You think one guy can't make that big a difference? Benjamin Solak had this stat on Blue Sky earlier today, that when Jalen Watson was in the lineup for the Chiefs, opponents had an expected points added per drop back that was a negative number. They were losing points on every drop back against the Chiefs. That ranked 8th in the league. They had the 8th best passing defense in the league in terms of EPA per drop back. Since Jalen Watson has been out, and like Jalen Watson is not a superstar, right? Jalen Watson was playing very well, but this is not an established all-pro. This is not Trent McDuffie we're talking about. This is not even like L'Jarius Sneed that we're talking about, or last year's version anyway of L'Jarius Sneed. The last 4 weeks, without Jalen Watson and with Najee Johnson in the lineup instead, the Chiefs ranked 27th out of 32 teams in the league in terms of EPA per dropback for their opponents. A 21-spot slide from week 7 to week 12, all because cornerback 2 is different. And I don't think that's the only issue. I certainly don't believe that's the only issue with the Chiefs defense, but that's the biggest reason right now that, and Nate Taylor of The Athletic gave this great description in his post-game article that he wrote on The Athletic. That was not a celebratory Chiefs locker room after that win last night. In fact, if you go to the Chiefs social media, Twitter or Instagram or whatever, and you see the video, they always post a little snippet of Andy Reid's post-game remarks. I don't know if they do it after losses. I always do it after wins.
I don't believe they do so after losses.
Probably not. Probably they would have to censor that. Anyway, Andy Reid looked like he was addressing a team that had lost. He sounded like he was addressing a team that had just lost a game. Talking about, I don't want to see heads down. You won. That's the important thing. You win and you create those habits. That's what you have to do in this league. That did not feel like a winning locker room yesterday because this is a team that is aware of how high the standards are, how good they have to be to win a third straight Super Bowl. And they know that right now, on the defensive side of the ball, that is a standard that they are not reaching. And that has to be frustrating in that locker room, particularly because we've kind of taken for granted right up until now that, yeah, the Chiefs defense is great. Yeah, look at all the star power they've got. Look at the all pros. Look at what they did last year. You kind of take it for granted. Yeah, Chiefs defense is good. And there have been moments this year where they've been good, but those moments have been fewer and far between the last couple of weeks. And they've given up now 30 and 27 points in back-to-back weeks. And it's one thing to give up 30 to the Bills. It's quite another to give up 27 points to a team that came in averaging the fewest yards per game of any team in the NFL. So it's a problem. The question is, do you think it can be fixed by January? Because that's what's really important here. Not can they fix it by Friday, by the Raiders game. They're either going to be playing a version of Aiden O'Connell that still doesn't have all his grip strength back in his throwing hand, or they're going to be playing Desmond Ridder. I don't think those are going to be major issues for the Chiefs on Black Friday. The question is, can they get this right by the time the games really start to matter? I still lean yes, but I'm not leaning as strongly as I used to after that performance on Sunday. That was alarming in a way that I don't think a previous performance had been alarming for this Chiefs defense so far.
So I'll give you I'll give you the perspective going in both directions. The negative perspective. I'm going to start with the negative here. No, this is not going to get fixed because and Jalen Watson was playing really well, but if CB2 was the glue for your entire defense, I've got some real worries about the bones of your entire defense. I do not think that was the only reason why, or that he was the only reason why this defense was playing at an elite level. So I don't know that they just have the right pieces. Like, this team can't get after the quarterback. They can't do it. And if your entire basis is we're going to rely on great coverage to get sacks, that is a really dangerous place to live, because if you play an elite quarterback and you play against good receivers and a good offensive scheme, they can find ways to get guys open quickly. Or if you play a guy who can scramble and stay upright long enough, you can't cover regularly for 6-7 seconds at a time. And no one is able to do that. Think of how many times other teams have covered Chiefs wide receivers well, only for Mahomes to stay up forever and then finally find someone downfield after 8 seconds of scrambling. it works the other way too. So I don't know what the problem is. I've said that before on the program. I have no idea why all of a sudden the Chiefs personnel just have no ability to hit or sack or pressure the quarterback at all. But they can't right now. And
it's the darndest thing. And then, again, we've talked about pass rush win rate, right? Chris Jones was 5th among defensive tackles in the NFL yesterday when it comes to pass rush win rate. He's 1st in the league throughout the course of the season. Like, you watch the games, you see 95's winning his matchup. Okay, great. What happens then? The quarterback gets flushed. And what happened a lot yesterday that I noticed, one in particular player that I thought was a little underwhelming, George Karlaftis was like zooming 10 yards into the backfield, like on every snap. Which, hey, great. You're speed rush. You're dominating the right tackle. That's nice. You have to get to the quarterback. You have to finish the play. What is happening instead is the quarterback is now able to escape the pocket because you're not forcing him to stay inside the pocket. You're not giving Chris Jones the opportunity to finish because you're giving the quarterback a lane through which to scramble. That's happening a lot lately. I think the speed rush from the outside, the Chiefs have effective speed rushers on the edge, but those speed rushers got to have a little bit more gap integrity. Like, again, that is very armchair coach of me to say, but that was one thing that stood out to me with Karlaftis in particular yesterday, that he's getting up the field no problem, and that's great, except for the fact that when the pocket breaks down, there's an escape hatch, and quarterbacks are finding that escape hatch against the Chiefs.
So, and I have some similar thoughts on the offense, which we'll get to momentarily, but here's my positive spin defensively. The offense is starting to figure it out in terms of moving the ball down the field with the passing game, which is what I was most concerned about over anything else. So let me see if I can find it here. Patrick Mahomes yesterday against Carolina, 7 of 10 when attempting throws of 10 or more air yards down the field. 7 of 10 for 122 yards. Now, he did not throw nearly enough down the field, I thought. The average depth of target was hovering in around 6, I believe. I don't have the number in front of me right now.
But that's still better than it's been.
Than the 4.4 it had been the previous few weeks. Yeah. So the Chiefs have found out, hey, here's what we need to do to move the ball down the field. They have figured it out with largely the same personnel, which is also a problem. And again, I'll get to that momentarily. But that's the positive spin, is we've gotten to this point and the offense has found a way to figure it out. Do you trust that the coaching staff and the players can get it turned around for the defense? If you do believe that, I don't blame you at all.
There's lots of
totally
evidence.
Hear that argument.
Lots of evidence that this is the right defensive coordinator and these are the right guys to fix what is broken.
There just aren't a lot of historical examples of suddenly after 2/3. We've lost the clean halfway point of the season, but now we have a clear first, second, and third of the season, which is kind of useful for these discussions. There aren't a lot of teams that 2/3 of the way through the season suddenly find pass rush. Like, you might like when Dwight Freeney was in the twilight years of his career and he just bounced from team to team every year as a pass rusher for 8 weeks, then he'd be a free agent again. Like, that's finding pass rush, but that's just a little extra juice, a little extra depth. Chiefs don't have anything right now. And that's the worry for me with them, is that they just, it's useless. And the fact that they couldn't do it against a line that, while admittedly, I saw some stats this weekend, the Panthers line has played better in recent weeks, and I give them credit for that. I give Dave Canales a lot of credit for that.
They had Ike Ekwonu back at left tackle. They've been missing him.
And playing well.
Yeah.
He looked like an all-time bust at the start of his career, and he's been at least serviceable, so credit to them for that. But you've got a potential Hall of Famer in Chris Jones. You've got a guy in George Karlaftis, who I thought has had a pretty good year, but he was terrible yesterday, as you mentioned. I don't think Charles Omenihu alone changes everything. Yeah, and that's the worry.
It's putting a lot on his shoulders, right? And maybe he's the piece that allows all of the other things to at least fit together a little bit better and give you some pass rush packages that make sense and put you in some better matchups, some more advantageous pass rushing matchups. That has to be the hope at this point. But to come in and think, oh man, Omenihu's going to have 7 sacks in 6 weeks and he's the deus ex machina for the pass rush, I think that's putting a lot on a guy coming off of a torn ACL.
No, I agree entirely with you. So that's my worry there. Can we get to the offense?
Yeah, let's do it.
I think there was some good.
I think there's a lot of good right now happening for the Chiefs offense.
I think they have discovered a more successful group of personnel. How about this? This is from Next Gen Stats. The Chiefs, when in 12 personnel, so that's 1 running back, 2 tight ends. If you ever hear like 11 personnel. Of course they're in 11 personnel. You only get 11 players at a time. Well, that number, the first number is number of running backs. Second number is number of tight ends. So if you hear that, that's what it means. So the Chiefs in 12 personnel yesterday, 219 yards and 2 touchdowns in just 32 plays. It was really effective. And you know why? Because Noah Gray is tight end 1. That's what he's playing like these last few weeks. And because, like, let's be frank, athletically, he can do more than Travis Kelce can right now. Like, Kelce he never had quote unquote breakaway speed, but for a tight end, I mean, that's like a snowball rolling down a hill and becoming, an avalanche, right?
Right.
Like, you don't want to see 87 coming, a 5'10 safety don't want to see me coming if you're Travis Kelce. Now, though, I mean, we've kind of joked about it, but it's true. He's like Jason Witten at this point, which is fine. It's useful, and it's extra useful when you can run 12 personnel effectively. That's been a personnel package that around the league has been almost something of a cheat code for the last really decade. But you know what the hardest part about finding 2 good tight ends is? Most teams don't have 1.
Right, finding 1 good tight end.
It's really hard to find 1, let alone 2. And Gray, all the credit in the world to Noah Gray, he has really come into his own as this season has gone on since he got paid. Spencer made the comment yesterday, on our instant reaction show on YouTube that, like, now we see why he got paid. And yeah, I think Spencer was entirely right about that. That is a package that is working for them. That is a really good thing. I think there's another form of evolution that needs to come with that. Here's another stat for you from Next Gen Stats. Travis Kelce in weeks 1 through 3 was targeted 14.6% of his routes. It's not very many. Since then, Kelce leads all tight ends in receptions since week 4 started. He's been targeted over 29% of his routes.
Wow.
3 of every 10 times Travis Kelce runs a route, they're throwing to him, which is like, hey, he's getting involved again. Here's the problem. He is the second worst yards over expected in that time because there's no yak.
Yeah.
Like the yak ability is gone.
Those extra yards. Yeah, he's not getting the way he used to.
Which makes the lack of DeAndre Hopkins even more confusing. Get him the ball.
Yeah. He only played like 35% of the snaps yesterday. That was very confusing.
What the hell is that?
Like,
get him the ball. We've seen it. He can still go.
Yeah.
He had 1,100 yards last season with the corpse of Ryan Tannehill and Will Levis.
I think that snap count has got to double, and it has got to double like immediately.
Yes.
And I don't know. Maybe this is a form of like load management for a veteran guy like Hopkins, where they know they got the Friday game, a divisional game coming up, and they thought that they could massage Hopkins' snaps a little bit against the Panthers. But if that's the case, how did Travis Kelce end up playing 89% of the snaps? You know, Kelce's playing more of the snaps this year, snap share this year than he did in each of the last like 3 seasons.
What?
Yeah, I know, right? We thought we'd see less Kelce this year, and we're seeing more of him.
And I'm not saying don't play the guy. I'm not saying that at all.
Right.
But I have some, we just talked about, 12 personnel. Use it. It works. Great. Get Noah Gray out there. He's been playing out of his mind. Awesome. But I think we need to tweak the other personnel groupings for the Chiefs because I think you need to find other ways to maximize the offense right now. I don't think targeting Travis Kelce 3 of every 10 plays is maximizing this offensive talent. I think more of DeAndre Hopkins, more of mixing some other guys in will. Here's another reason why you need to find other ways to maximize the offense. You're playing 10 on 11 because the left tackle situation is untenable at this point.
How soon can they get DJ Humphries?
Is he going to save the dynasty?
Again, this is like, we're looking at one guy and saying he's the Deus Ex Machina. I think there's a better chance of that being true for DJ Humphries than there does about Charles Omenihu. But the Chiefs signing a veteran left tackle on Friday kind of came out of nowhere. But then you watch Wanye Morris's performance yesterday where he couldn't keep DJ Wanham out of the backfield, and it makes a lot more sense. They've got to get Humphries up to speed ASAP because, like, poor left tackle play, as Vance points out in the YouTube comments, that's an injury risk, is what that is.
I mean, how many times has Mahomes limped off the field this year after a 3rd down sack?
It's not just like a hindrance to your offense. It is a legitimate injury risk for your meal ticket.
So this is not the only problem right now with the Chiefs offensive line. Did you by chance see what former Chiefs world champion and all-pro right tackle Mitchell Schwartz said on Twitter about the right side of the line yesterday?
Something to the effect of there's a pass rush game teams keep running on Jawan Taylor and Trey Smith, and the Chiefs never pick it up right.
So let me pull up the exact written quote here. One day we will learn to pick up an edge tackle stunt on the right side, an end tackle stunt on the right side. Today is not that day. Trey is put in an impossible situation every game. Knows it's coming, knows he's going to get no help from Jawan, and is the one who gets picked and has to deal with DEs teeing off on him. Sucks. Then somebody who hilariously their Twitter display name is Eli Drinkpiss responded to him and said, "Come on, Mitch. Jawan has been going through doing this his entire time here. Why has it just recently become an issue? I don't buy it at all. He is playing like crap, but so is Jawan Taylor." So both him and Trey. Schwartz then said, "It's been an issue the whole time, but more recently, teams have begun using that rush package weapon in a way they weren't using it before." So it's not just left tackle, which is the most glaring because it's a turnstile.
Right.
But the right side is not useful either. I think Trey Smith had a really good start to the year until teams started doing what Mitchell Schwartz pointed out here. It's hard as a guard to match up against a good defensive tackle. I think Trey Smith does that really well. You know, it's much harder to go up against a smaller, faster guy who can shift from speed to power like a good defensive end can. And that's what Trey Smith has had to deal with. And that is not a good spot for him to be in. I've got a couple more stats for you here. Next, NFL Pro, if you got $100 to burn, it is awesome. It is seriously so good. So the Panthers entered this week having generated the fewest quick pressures in the NFL and the longest average time to sack in the NFL. They also entered this week with the second fewest overall sacks in the NFL, with 12 total through the first 11 weeks of the year. 12 of them. They sacked Mahomes 5 times yesterday. I mean, it was target practice. Jadeveon Clowney has been AWOL all season. I believe, if I remember correctly, he had 1 sack all year. And I mean, they couldn't stop him. He looked like South Carolina Clowney out there.
He did.
That is not okay.
Yeah.
So if that is a problem that can't be fixed, God willing, it'll be DJ Humphries fixing it. But if that's not something that can be fixed, you've got to figure out a way to be even more efficient running and passing purely without the protection, because they're not giving you any help.
Yeah, and you're going to have to resort to short pass stuff on 3rd and longs, because then you run into a real big problem. What do you say we do a real quick round of good, bad, ugly, and then we call Matt Verderame up. We get his thoughts on all things Chiefs and all things NFL Week 12.
I think that is a great idea. So let us play a round of good, bad, and ugly.
Right there. Love it. All right. My good for the weekend. The Hayden Wildcats going back to a state championship game. Bill Arnold's Charges rolled past Wellsville 35-7. And for the 9th time, for the 2nd straight year, Hayden is in the 3A state title game. They got to deal with that buzzsaw out of Andale. It won't be an easy task, but the goal is to play the weekend of Thanksgiving. And Hayden's done it for a 2nd straight year. Congratulations to Coach Bill Arnold, the Wildcats. It's been a great year.
Yep. Awesome for them. Good for me. Pretty much everyone locally won this weekend except K-State men's basketball. K-State football got a big bounce back win they had to have over Cincinnati. KU wins again. We'll talk about both of those games a little bit later. My favorite team, the Packers, killed the 49ers. That was sick. The Chiefs won, albeit not impressively. And the Washburn men and women both won their games this weekend. The men beat William Jewell on Saturday. The women, 2 wins in a row by exactly 22 points. They beat Truman State Friday with that morning tip-off. So a pretty good weekend for the local teams. Except you, K-State Hoops.
Yeah, except them. Our edition of Cosmo Kramer, Spencer Dupuis just popped in. Spencer, what was your good for the weekend?
My good for the weekend was had a nice, relaxing weekend, because this is a busy week for me.
Sure.
I'll be in and out of sports for the days that we actually have sports. But I got to go to a little food preview, I guess you would say, at a new place here in Topeka. First Watch. Got a free brunch on Saturday.
Nice.
Shout out to them. Very good food.
Awesome.
I would go there. They're open today. They're closed Thanksgiving, but go this week.
My wife's a big fan. She loves it.
Great place. I'd never actually tried it, but yes, great place. That's my good.
My bad for the weekend. Yeah, K-State men's hoops. You didn't spend all that NIL money to lose to Liberty. And I know Liberty's good. Like, that's a good mid-major program, certifiably. And it wasn't, again, I watched most of that game last night. It wasn't the LSU game. It wasn't lack of effort. It wasn't they were lazy. It wasn't they don't care. Like, trust me, if you saw their reaction after Doug McDaniel missed that 3,
oh yeah,
they care. That hurt them losing that one last night. It wasn't effort. It wasn't energy. It wasn't they don't care. It's that they weren't as good as Liberty, and that's kind of a problem.
Yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly. My bad is the SEC. Y'all are bad. You ain't the same. You ain't that guy, pal. You ain't that dude, bro. You're not. Indiana lost by 3 scores, and I don't think their playoff chances changed.
No, they didn't.
In a just world, they wouldn't have.
I don't think they did at all. They have 2 lost teams. You have a bad, Spencer?
Yes. While this sounds like a good, it actually turns into a bad. So Marshall won. They won at Old Dominion on Saturday night.
Yeah.
They still control their own destiny for the Sun Belt Conference Championship.
Uh-huh.
And, yesterday, head coach of the Marshall Thundering Herd, Charles Huff, who is still yet to be re-signed by Marshall, took an interview with Southern Miss, who has a lot of rebuilding to do, like years and years of rebuilding to do.
That's tough. That's a conference rival, bottom of the conference.
Yes.
He took an interview with them. Ooh.
Yes.
He putting pressure on whoever your AD is out there at Marshall.
Yeah.
All right. My ugly for the weekend, the officiating, KU Colorado. It was a Kevin Marr crew, so it should not have been surprising. I don't know how Kevin Marr continues to get work after he presided over that BYU-Utah debacle, but he was the head official at KU Colorado. The officiating in that game was atrocious. Dean Miller should have been ejected in the first half for his low shot on Shedeur Sanders. That was horrible from Dean Miller to make that play, but Shedeur Sanders should have been ejected for shoving an official. And that didn't happen
Right
either.
in the back.
Right in the back. So it got ugly. Colorado, of course, they got frustrated. They got beat for the first time in a while, and they went out sad like you kind of figured they would. But that was a game the officials lost control of. Get Kevin Marr out of the Big 12.
I got home to watch that game after the Washburn men played on Saturday, and I turn it on, and my wife's sitting next to me, and we see in a penalty flag announcement, she goes, "Oh, this guy."
Yeah.
Yep, you are
he
correct,
has reached
honey.
this guy's status. You have an ugly?
Oh, yeah, K-State basketball.
Okay.
Dog, you can't lose to Liberty.
Spencer, you got an ugly?
Yes, the Washington Commanders. You are given you block a field goal, you block a punt, and you lose? What? And how do you miss a PAT? It's a PAT. Kick a PAT and make it. Come on.
That's tough. That was a tough one.
Yes, it was.
We're going to get Matt Verderame on the horn, our NFL insider from Sports Illustrated, SI.com. He's going to join us here momentarily here on 580 Sports Talk. We're just going to segue right into talking to Matt here as soon as we get him on the line. And we'll get Matt's insights on Chiefs Panthers and the rest of the action in a wild Week 12. Always seems to happen. We know this to be true in college football. But we also should now accept it as reality in the NFL that when there's a schedule that looks whack, the games end up being great. And that's what we got. We got some great games this weekend. So why don't you fire Matt's intro, and we will welcome in our NFL insider.
Football.
Matt!
Okay, now go out there and catch a ball for a change, all right?
Matt? You just don't understand football, Marge.
Matt!
Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
How can you not be romantic about football, man?
Matt Verderame joined us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline here on 580 Sports Talk. Covers the National Football League for Sports Illustrated, SI.com. You can subscribe to his subscribers-only Patreon, the Matt Verderame Show. You can check him out on Twitter at Matt Verderame. Matt, we don't need to say that the Chiefs did not play to a championship standard yesterday against the Panthers because the Chiefs will be the first ones to say it, particularly about their performance on the defensive side. What right now is most concerning about what you're seeing from the Chiefs defensively?
Their corner play outside of McDuffie. They're non-competitive. And I would point specifically to Najee Johnson. Look, Connor's not played well the last couple games, but we've seen him play very good football for a year and a half. I mean, you could attribute that to a litany of things. Maybe he's working through a little bit of an injury. Maybe he's just having a little bit of a slump. He's human. It happens. Najee Johnson led the team in tackles on Sunday. That's not good. When your corner's leading you in tackles, you've got a problem. He led them in tackles because teams are just relentlessly throwing at him. And when you watch that game, you know, Jatavian Sanders, who thankfully seems to be as okay can be after being backboarded off the field, he's tight end. They put him on Najee Johnson one-on-one and immediately identified that as the throw they wanted to make. They then put Chuba Hubbard on Najee Johnson one-on-one, a running back, and immediately threw at him. Like that, it was wide open. He dropped the ball, but he threw it at him. The pass rush is also deeply concerning, but I think there's a world where that gets righted. Amenahu's coming back. Jones and Karlaftis, you would imagine here at some point they break out. Like, I think there's a world where that's okay come playoff time. But that other corner position is a sinkhole. I mean, they are going to have to really figure something out. And Joshua Williams and Roland Wallace did not play a snap on defense yesterday, not one. So it has become the Najee Johnson show, for better or worse, in Kansas City.
Are they that committed to Johnson and just developing him and rolling with the punches, or is that a negative sign for where Williams and Roland Wallace are developmentally? I think Keith Taylor's still kicking around in the practice squad. Are they going to have to try something new there, or is this just an example of, hey, we have to roll with the punches with a young player right now and just hope it gets better?
I mean, I think they're going with the latter. I don't necessarily feel like that's the best route, although I'm not there every day. Steve Spagnuolo knows a lot more about football than I could ever dream of knowing, so I respect that. I think Joshua Williams has played decent football there in the past, and it's worth trusting him to go out there and do it again. That being said, Joshua Williams, when he's got on the field this year, has been a train wreck. He's taken penalties. He's missed assignments. He's blown coverages. I understand why they're sitting there going, look, we don't trust him. And Christian Roland Wallace is an undrafted rookie free agent. Like, I also understand that, where the Chiefs are like, look, we can't put that much on this kid yet. I think we're to a point, as we sit, and things can change, but as we sit with 6 games left, it's sink or swim with Najee Johnson. That's it. He's playing. And he's playing every down. And if he doesn't play well, they're screwed. I don't know what – I mean, he's going to have to go out there and play well. But, I almost wonder – with the way they've struggled defensively the last month, is this going to be a year where offensively they're going to have to get better and get hot and carry this team? I mean, is that just what it's going to be? And I think there's a world that happens because Pacheco's coming back. DJ Humphries, I think, is going to be starting by the time they play the Chargers. And Hollywood Brown likely back late in the year. Like, is this just something where the offense scores 30 some odd points, per game down the stretch, and they win 30-24 every week? It's not something we've been accustomed to the last year and a half watching the Chiefs, but I wonder if the pendulum's going to swing that way.
How much of an impact do you expect DJ Humphries to make? You think it'll be pretty soon he gets on the field? How much of an upgrade should he be on Wanya Morris?
If he is what he has been in the past, pre-knee injury, which he got, which he sustained in January, he will be a monumental upgrade. I mean, DJ Humphries is a real player. That guy, 30 years old, Pro Bowler. He was excellent the last couple of years there in Arizona. He's a team captain, former first rounder. That guy is a big-time pass protector and somebody who is mobile in space and can get out there and he'll be good in the screen game, stuff like that. I say this is no disrespect to Juan anymore, so I think it's genuinely, look, he's doing the best job he can. He's just not equipped to do it. DJ Humphries it's like if you went from having a receiver the caliber of MVS his first year in Kansas City, and you replaced him with, I don't know, Keenan Allen. Like, maybe the guy's not like an all-pro, but he's a Pro Bowl level player. He's a good football player. Like, I think the upgrade will be significant. And I also think that has a ripple effect. Like, if he plays the standard, then you can chip a little with Taylor, and now all of a sudden it's like, all right, you're good. Like, you don't have a problem anymore. Whereas, like, right now, you could chip one side. The other side's still a disaster. I mean, I think Juwan Taylor's played better than some people give him credit for. He got worked like a speed bag by Jadeveon Clowney yesterday. I mean, to the point, I was really concerned that Mahomes was just going to get knocked out of the game. It was unbelievable. They weren't even touching guys coming off the edge. It has been a problem for the Chiefs now for a couple of years, and it's clearly one right now, but help appears to be on its way at least.
Matt Verderame is our guest. He covers the NFL for Sports Illustrated and SI.com. He's the host of the Matt Verderame Show on Patreon and that football show at the KC Sports Network, and he joins us every single Monday at this time to talk all things NFL. For this Chiefs team, if they want to get the number 1 seed in the AFC, Matt, what record do you think they need to finish with?
15-2. I think they're gonna have to get 15-2 because I think Buffalo's maybe only got one more loss on them. The Niners are a wreck. The Rams, I wouldn't say the Rams couldn't beat Buffalo because the Rams are weird and they could just have a day where they score 38 points. But I think the Bills probably beat them. Buffalo going to Detroit, that's one of those games right now. Are you picking anybody to go into Detroit and beat that team? I wouldn't. So, look, I would pick Detroit in that game, but then they play the Pats twice and the Jets. I think Buffalo, look, could they lose twice? Yes. And maybe they just have one of those losses that you're just like, how did they lose that game? It happens. It happens to everybody. But I think the Chiefs probably can lose one more game. And I think the big thing for the Chiefs right now is, look, you got to click off this game against the Raiders. You've got to click off the Browns here in a few weeks. And then, you've got Houston coming in and, before Christmas. They are not playing well. Pittsburgh, that's a game that the Chiefs play well, they'll win. Same thing with the Chargers, but they got to play well. The Chiefs have not played particularly well in recent weeks. That can change. They could all of a sudden come out and score 50 against the Raiders and everything's right. But yeah, I think the Chiefs can probably afford one more loss. I think that's probably it. Maybe 2, but I think if they only lose one more, I think they'll be the ones.
We're joined by Matt Verderame here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. And Matt, you were tweeting about it yesterday. You saw the injury live to Gardner Minshew. Who do you think is going to be starting at quarterback for the Raiders on Friday with this short week upcoming?
I think it's probably O'Connell. He's going to get taken off IR and brought back to practice. Look, I don't mean to disrespect he or Desmond Ridder. If the Chiefs don't get right defensively in this game, they should quit. They should just give it up. I mean, the Panthers. I will say this for the Panthers. I think it's not an excuse because the Chiefs were atrocious yesterday, but it's also valid and it's true. Bryce Young played really well in that game. I got to hand it to him. He made 2 or 3 throws in that game down the field. He has not made his life. And, okay, give him credit. And Adam Thielen's a real player, and Chuba Hubbard is a real player. The Raiders have nobody on that team outside of Brock Bowers. The quarterback play is awful. The coaching is awful. The offensive line is terrible. They can't run. They've got the worst running game in the league. I mean, that's one of those deals. Like, yeah, sure, Jacoby Myers might have 5 and 50 or something. But like, if you as a defense can't stop that team, you've got bigger problems than we all even know. I mean, it's a short week. You're at home. The Raiders have lost 7 in a row. Like, this is the time of year. If you talk to people in the league, they'll tell you 2 things are true. This is when contenders, Thanksgiving is that line of demarcation, when contenders start to simplify the scheme going forward. All right, this is what works, and we're going to ramp that up. And on the flip side, it is where some of these teams that aren't good, it starts becoming business decision time, where, hey, man, I got a contract coming up in 6 weeks. Like, I'm not looking to blow out my knee. I'm not looking to, make that extra hit if I don't have to. I would not, if the Chiefs get up in this game early, I would not be surprised if you start seeing some guys on the Raiders make some business decisions. I mean, you're going to start seeing it around the league. It happens with bad teams, and it could happen on Friday if the Chiefs get off to the start they're going to want to get off to.
Matt Verderame joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, let's go around the league a little bit here. You mentioned the 49ers are in a bad way. No Brock Purdy and no Nick Bosa on Sunday. They get thrashed by the Packers at Lambeau. And now all of a sudden, the Seattle Seahawks are in first place on a tiebreaker in that NFC West. Who is going to win that division?
I have no idea because they still have so many games against each other. I would say this. I think that the Niners, if the Niners were healthy, they would be, I think, everybody's pick. But they're just not healthy. So, assuming they don't get fully healthy here anytime in the near future, you'll look at it, and I still tend to think it's Arizona, that Arizona finds a way to do it. They've got the rematch against Seattle in their own building. They lost to they beat the Rams at home. They've got to play them at SoFi still. They beat the Niners in Santa Clara. So I still, if you said, look, you got to bet your mortgage, who do you like? I think I would take Arizona. And the funny thing is, normally you'll get a division like this. The division's terrible, and whoever's 5 seed's going to win the game going away. Like, I think if any of those teams get in the playoffs, any of them could win that first game. Like, it's not like I look at them and go, oh, they're just terrible. I don't think any of them would go to Detroit and give them a shot, unless it's the Niners. Unless the Niners just got healthy and bright, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, the Niners are back. You know, it's just a hand coming out of the ground. But I think all of them are capable of winning a playoff game. I don't think any of them are capable of making meaningful runs except for a healthy Niners team. But I would take Arizona because I just don't know that the Niners are ever going to get healthy this year.
From the West Coast to the East Coast, Matt, the Philadelphia Eagles have a quarterback who is still very polarizing. I'm not a Jalen Hurts guy for sure. I think they might all still hate their head coach, Nick Sirianni, and yet they are trouncing people in Philadelphia right now. The Eagles are now up to, I believe it is 8-2, 9-2 on the season. They beat up on the Rams last night. How close are the Eagles, or let me start with this. Are they legit Super Bowl contenders? And if so, how close are they to maybe the crown of best team in the NFC right behind the Lions?
Oh, I think they're a legitimate contender. Like, look, we're outside of the Monday night game, of course, although this wouldn't change my opinion no matter how this shakes. We are going into week 13. To me, there are 4 teams. There are 4 teams, and there's 2 in each conference, and I think it's going to be Championship Sunday. I think it's going to be Philadelphia and Detroit. And I think it's going to be Kansas City and Buffalo. And I think that is going to be just an absolute brawl that weekend if that's what you get, those 2 games. I think in the NFC it would be high flying and a ton of points. On the AFC, I think it would basically look like a fist fight with 2 teams. I think that would be a game of total desperation. But look, to get back to the Eagles, Barkley's the MVP of the league right now. He is. I mean, the guy's on pace for like 2,500 total yards. It's insane. I don't know that I can recall a year where every time the guy touches the ball, you're like, he might just go for a touchdown. Doesn't matter where he is on the field, who's around him. Like, you want the Rams game. I'm sitting there and I'm writing stuff for Sports Illustrated. And I looked up and he's running for another touchdown. And I'm like, how many yards did he rush for tonight? And I looked it up. I'm like, oh my God, he's like 250 yards, whatever it was. I mean, he's just been a one-man offense. They've got those receivers. Goddard's an excellent tight end. I believe it hurts more than some, although I don't think he's great. I think he's good. Fangio's got that defense humming, and it's because of those rookie corners in Mitchell and DeGene. They are excellent. And, you know, the one thing with the NFC that people have got to keep in mind, that is far from settled. Like, the Eagles are a game behind Detroit. So is Minnesota. Like, there's a world where Detroit slips up ever so slightly. They're a 5 seed. Like, it's just, you know, the Packers are there. There's a lot of weird. The NFC's divisional round is going to be insane. Where I think in the AFC, no matter how it shakes, if the Chiefs are the 1 and the 2 in some order with the Bills, you're going to be like, okay, those 2 teams should win those games. The NFC, you can have, you know, Green Bay going to Detroit. Nobody's going to sit there and think that's a cinch. I mean, it's a very loaded conference at the top, at the very top.
And Matt, final one from me. Do you think Cliff Kingsbury's offense is stale? Like, this seems to be an every year thing with his offense where you get to the latter part of the year and they just can't do anything offensively.
I think the problem with Kingsbury's offense is it doesn't have a lot of motion. They always rank toward the bottom in motion. And when you're constantly putting on film these static looks, teams eventually feel, okay, I know what you're doing. When this guy is in a 3-by-1 and he's isolated backside, we know what the play is going to be. When this guy's isolated, we know what this play is going to be. And when this guy's isolated, we know you're going to the bunch formation because you don't want to run an isolated play for this guy. And when it's 2-by-2, we're just going to look and find McLaurin, and we know that the play is probably going to go to that side. Like, when you run motion, you create indecision, and you create it right at the snap, and you also change the rules of the defense. The Chiefs are phenomenal at that. The Niners are phenomenal at that. Like the Rams, the Commanders don't do that. And it makes the job harder for the quarterback because you're not getting as many keys read by the defense or from the defense. And the defense has a better clue because they're looking at a static picture for 20 seconds. So I think in that sense, yes, I think there is a little bit of a reason that there's a trend line with Kingsbury as the season goes on.
Matt Verderame covers the National Football League for Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Also has his own subscriber-only Patreon, The Matt Verderame Show, which offers all sorts of great insight about the Chiefs and the rest of the league. You can find him on Twitter at Matt Verderame. Matt, have a great Thanksgiving. Get that tryptophan nap in during Cowboys-Giants, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Listen, if the turkey doesn't do it, that game certainly will. Have a happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Thanks, you too. That is Matt Verderame joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline.
The Maui Invitational.
Yes.
Beginning today.
Yeah.
Memphis was up by double figures at one point on UConn.
Up 12 with like 3:18 to play.
We are now in overtime, and UConn is leading with 2.5 minutes to go. Also, Danny Hurley's a great coach, and there's really no arguing Danny Hurley as a basketball coach at this point. And his personality works because, I mean, they're winning. He's getting better and better recruits. Like that's a machine that's going to keep rolling. Get this bum loser out of the sport. What a absolute baby. His player just shoved a Memphis guy to the floor and got teed up after a Memphis bucket. And they're going to the monitor right now. Danny Hurley was out throwing a temper tantrum like a wet 2-year-old out on the floor for the last 3 minutes, just whining and crying. Do you know how hard you have to try to make me support Penny Hardaway?
Look,
grow up.
You know, whether you're Danny Hurley or you're my 5-month-old son, sometimes you just enter fussy mode.
I think Asher probably has more manners than idiot Danny Hurley does.
Sometimes you just get a little fussy. It happens. Hey, let's wrap up this hour.
Actually, the Memphis guy totally took a dive. That should be a technical on both of them.
Okay.
Either way, get off the floor. All right, so 35 for Memphis kind of shoved him, and then he took a dive. So double tease and make Danny Hurley go work the drive-through tonight.
We have a final score. K-State women at the Ball Dogs Classic in Las Vegas. That's what people are hearing over the air this afternoon on 580 WIBW. K-State, number 10 team of the country, suffers their first loss of the season to 14th-ranked Duke, 73-62. Duke took firm command of this game in the second quarter and raced out to a big second-half lead. Final score actually kind of flatters K-State a little bit. Ayoka Lee with 16, Serena Sundell with 15 to lead the way for the Wildcats in the loss. Ashlyn Jackson went for 30 to pace Duke in the win. K-State will play in the consolation game at 1:30. We said 1. We said 1 o'clock p.m. on Wednesday. They'll play either DePaul or Oklahoma. They'll play the loser of that game. We'll have that broadcast here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Then we'll have 580 Sports Talk on Wednesday following that game. If K-State had won, there would have been no 580 Sports Talk. So there will be a show on Wednesday, which means know what is wrong with you today. We'll save the semifinals for tomorrow. We'll crown a champion for the month on Wednesday. Let's wrap up this hour real quick. Hand out a game ball for the Chiefs and their 30-27 win over the Panthers. Brendan.
Spencer Schrader. Cool moment for him. Got to have a game-winning field goal. Good for him.
Game ball, Spencer.
Give me Noah Gray because I was going to pick Spencer Strider, but this man has 4 touchdowns in 2 weeks. He is tight end number 1.
Game ball for me, Patrick Mahomes, man. He's collecting the Infinity Stones on offense. And he
was really good.
Yeah, that was, I think, his best game of the season. 3 touchdowns in consecutive games. He hadn't done that since 2022. The understanding is deepening with Hopkins. Kelsey's getting involved. Noah Gray's getting involved. I thought Worthy was involved in a good way yesterday. The offense is starting to pick up steam. And, boy, with the way the defense has played, they might need it. We're going to take a short break to refuel here a little bit, and we'll come right back and talk K-State football, KU football. The Royals made a trade on Friday. We'll get to that. We'll wrap up about 4:30. We are unencumbered by the restrictions of things like commercial breaks and the news and all of that. So we're just going to knock off for like a minute and change here, and then we're going to come right back.
I need water. That's what we're taking a break for.
That is exactly correct. I'm going to go get some water, and hang with us here on our 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube and on Facebook, WIBW News, and I promise we'll be back in just a minute. Let's get it. We're back on 580 Sports Talk. This is actually kind of
like
fun.
we never left.
Yeah, back like we never left because we really didn't. This is actually kind of fun to just kind of be in and out whenever we want.
Yeah.
Go and have the freedom. I understand why so many people do podcasts now.
Oh, yeah. Imagine if we had like an 8-person crew and there could just always be some combination of people talking and we could all just kind of like in and out the entire day long. That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, I would enjoy that.
Someone pay me a lot of money to go make that happen.
Just an 8-hour ramble from a rotating cast of characters. What you get instead today is we are not on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9 or online at 580WIBW.com today because there is K-State basketball. The K-State women have just wrapped up. They lost to Duke in the first round of the Ball Dogs Classic. That's DAWGS, very important, for the AP Style Guide. K-State men are about to play. They tip off in about 27 minutes down in the Virgin Islands. They play Longwood in the third place game at the Paradise Jam.
Oh, someone is sure proud of themselves. Yeah, I actually, while you were speaking, our station computer flipped over to the K-State men's broadcast. So
perfect.
They're ready to go. So if you listen over on 580, you'll hear pregame for the men down in the Virgin Islands.
There you go. So that is coming up over the air terrestrially today. But here on our video channels, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube and WIBW News on Facebook, we didn't want to leave you hanging on a Victory Monday for the Chiefs, the Jayhawks, for the Wildcats. And so we are here with you. And we're going to hang out with you for another half hour or so and wind things down on the video stream. We really appreciate you guys hanging out with us today on the YouTube, on the Facebook, and watching the program today. Also appreciate those of you who jumped in on the YouTube live chat today as well. Sorry to Jeffrey. Know what is wrong with you today. We'll have the semifinals for November tomorrow, and we'll have the championship on Friday. This is what happens when you genuinely do not know if you're going to get a chance to do a show. So sometimes you get caught a little flat-footed.
Update from Maui. I think Danny Hurley got teed up. And now Memphis is shooting free throws for the lead with 40 seconds to go in overtime at the Lahaina Civic Center.
Oh, my goodness.
And I could not be happier. But, I could, though, because this means good things for Penny Hardaway, who I just cannot stand. He is such a bad coach. Great recruiter. Such a bad coach.
Yeah. Yeah. Not much of a coach, for sure. Not much of a in-game coach.
Oh, yeah. There were a lot of F words being said here by Danny Hurley. He pulled on his get-back coach to go yell at the officials more and got teed up. Oh, boo-hoo. Grow up.
So we'll have some thoughts here in the next half hour or so. We want to get to the rest of the stuff that happened in the weekend of sports. And we want to get to the college gridiron from Saturday because, as we said, Victory Monday, not just for the Chiefs, but Victory Monday for the Wildcats, Victory Monday for the Jayhawks. And we'll start with the Jayhawks, 37-21 over Colorado at Arrowhead Stadium on Senior Day. Spencer Hall of, college football, Twitter, and media fame tweeted at one point, or actually, I believe he skeeted it on Blue Sky. He said, Kansas is walking Colorado around the octagon by their nose right now. That is effectively what that was. All year long, it feels good, never wrong, just early. All year long, I believed that Colorado as a team had the same weaknesses that we thought they were going to have when the season began. They were not going to be a team that was very physical. They're going to be a lot of style and a lot of flash, but they weren't going to be as good in the trenches as teams who were good in the trenches. The teams who committed to punching them in the face for 60 minutes are the teams that have beaten them, or in the case of North Dakota State, almost beaten them. Nebraska beat them, punched them in the nose for 60 minutes. K-State beat them, punched them in the nose for 60 minutes. The rest of CU's opponents either weren't equipped to do that, or, frankly, they had to give up on doing that because CU's offense was too good. Like, Utah is kind of built to punch you in the nose, but they had too many injuries. They couldn't really do it. UCF fell behind in the blink of an eye, and they couldn't really do it. But the teams who have committed to being physical with Colorado have beaten Colorado. And Kansas came out committed to being physical. I have a Simpsons reference for this because I always have a Simpsons reference for everything.
Yeah.
I think it's a Halloween episode where Homer goes to hell. And the devil is trying to think of ways to torture Homer Simpson, which is no easy feat. And at one point, he decides, oh, I know, the sin of gluttony. And he says, oh, you like donuts, don't you, Homer? How about all the donuts in the world? And he straps Homer to a chair and just starts force feeding him donuts 2 at a time. And he flash forward later and he's almost eaten all the donuts in the world. And he's still happy as a clam. Weighs like 2,000 pounds, but he's just enjoying his donuts. That's what the KU game plan was offensively on Saturday. Oh, you want more Devin Neal, do you? How about all Devin Neal, everything? To which KU fans responded, yes,
finally.
This is what we've wanted all year long. Why did it take until now to give Devin Neal the ball 41 times in a single football game? Devin Neal kicked Colorado's ass.
He was the best player on the field. A game that featured the odds-on heavy favorite to win the Heisman Trophy, and Devin Neal was the best player on the field. And that's not a slight at Travis Hunter, because you know who also had a really good game?
Travis
Hunter.
Holy cow, he's awesome.
But Devin Neal was the best player on the field. And, man, I hope this doesn't sound too over the top, but legitimate emotion from me when after Jalen Daniels knelt the ball out and knelt out the final seconds of the clock, when he and Devin and Luke Grimm were the three that came together in the backfield and shared a hug for their final game together. Man, that was emotional.
Got a little dusty in the Dworzynski mansion.
I mean, those are three of the most important players that the program has ever had. And that was a really, really cool moment for them. Really cool moment for the team. They just beat the crap out of them, man. Like, this was one of the first times since, I don't even know if the Nebraska game would count for this, but to the point you're talking about, like, this is the first time all year that felt like 2023 Colorado, where like they might beat you, but they're going to beat you with flash and style. And if you punch them in the mouth, they will stay on the mat. If we get in a fight, there are going to be 4 hits, me hitting the ground and then me hitting 9, then 1, then 1. Like, that's it. That's what that game was from Colorado, which kind of shocked me given the way that the two head coaches were approaching the game. Like, KU was smart and said, hey, wait a minute. We have, in my mind, still the best running back in the Big 12, Devin Neal. Let's give him the ball relentlessly until they can stop him. Colorado showed a lot of respect leading up to the game for Lance Leipold. I mean, Prime had a bunch of nice things to say about him. Those two have a lot of mutual respect. Colorado has been good with the physicality. And they have been good at running the ball.
Much better in the front 7 this year. Yes.
And yet they weren't game for it.
No.
It was like they weren't ready for it, which is bizarre.
The other part that happened that I'm sure got to be frustrating, and you saw the frustration boil over from Colorado at the very end of the game, their best players were not allowed to participate in the football game because Kansas had the ball for 40 minutes.
Just didn't let them play.
Yeah, non-participation from Shedeur Sanders. Like, that's one way to keep them from overwhelming you with their offensive talent, which they can do. The kid who scored the non-Travis Hunter touchdown for them and had a really nice day in the receiving game, that's a freshman, Draylon Miller. He's like their 6th best wide receiver.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable the talent they have on offense. And Kansas decided going into that game, well, what if we just didn't let that half of the ball play? What if we just hogged the ball for 60 minutes?
Smart.
Yes. It worked a treat, didn't it? It was really something to behold. And it was an all-time performance from Devin Neal in his final home game as a Jayhawk.
National Player of the Week from the AP.
Richly deserved. He was outstanding. And right now, I don't think there's a team, with respect to Arizona State, there is not a team in the Big 12 playing better football than the Kansas Jayhawks. There's not.
No, it's actually ludicrous to say that if you just based it on deserving right this second, the Big 12 championship game should be a rematch of KU Arizona State, which is like a drug in like fueled dream to say that out loud. But no, KU deserves where it is because it could not finish a game for 6 weeks, and that's deserved. But like right now, and I think a lot of K-State fans would tell you this. I saw it on social media, like, glad we got that win when we did, and glad we found a way to win that game over KU, because, oh boy, would not want to play them again.
No.
Go ask any of the teams that won earlier in the season. Go ask West Virginia. Go ask anyone. Like, we wouldn't want to play them right now. Illinois. Good thing we got that win when we did. Good thing we played them week 2 and not this part of the year, because, oh dear, that would not be a favorable matchup. And no reason to think that KU is not going to be Baylor next week. KU is an underdog on the opening line. I have not seen what it's up to now, but KU was at least at some books a 2-point underdog. I found it as a 1-point dog a few minutes after that. I would not be surprised if that one jumps the fence at some point.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I know Baylor's offense had been in really good form, but they only managed 20 points against Houston. I know Baylor's at home. I know that their offense has, again, been in really good form. But what if KU just pours it down Baylor's throat and doesn't let Sawyer Robertson participate in the game? Like, why can't they do that twice in a row?
Because the thing that helps you do, too, when your defense actually does go on the field, like down to down, you still want to find success, obviously. But the one big play by Mello Dotson or the one big play by Cornell Wheeler or Kobe Bryant or, whoever else, Jeremy Robinson, one big play makes such a gigantic difference. If you're only going to run 50 of them, one play is a big deal. One turnover is a big deal.
One fourth down stop is a big deal.
Exactly.
And KU got that fourth down stop near midfield, which that was hilarious. CU lined up to run the ball on 3rd and 1, lost 2 yards, and then said, well, on 4th and 3, surely we'll make it work this time.
Yeah. I can't believe Pat Shurmur didn't make it work in the NFL. I can't believe it.
So,
also, by the way, shout out to Warren Sapp and his comments. He opened his big fat mouth this week and said Jalen Daniels ain't gonna be able to run on us. He's a jitterbug. That's it. Yeah, how'd your run defense go, Warren? You dirtbag.
Yeah.
Always has been, always will
Warren
be.
Sapp's a scummy guy. And I have hated like the rehab that the media's done for him. He's a glorified GA. He's just hanging around because he's buddies with Prime. And he deserves no credit for anything that's happening there. Give Robert Livingston his flowers, their defensive coordinator. He's done a really nice job.
Yes.
And honestly, Robert Livingston deserves a lot of credit because he has to deal with one major handicap, and that is having the worst player in college football have to play because he's the coach's kid. Shiloh Sanders sucks. Like, I cannot say enough negative things. Shiloh Sanders is not only is he a terrible football player, he's a dirty football player. He is headhunting every single time. The fact that he didn't get thrown out for that targeting foul that they picked up, number one, I guess I just don't know what targeting is. But number two, every Colorado fan was hoping that flag stood so they could finally yank Shiloh and staple his ass to the bench where it belongs. That kid can't play. And the only reason he's out there because of the name on the back of his jersey.
Correct. Nope, that's correct. I would argue he's the worst starter in the Big 12.
No question. No question.
Every week he's getting exposed.
There's not a single other team in the league he would start for. He's like 26, running around, tackling with the crown of his helmet, going for people's heads every single time. He's a disgrace. It really is. And it just, Colorado's done a lot of nice things this year. They've had a great year. They've made their fans happy and excited, and that's great. I don't want to diminish the greatness of Travis Hunter. Shadur Sanders is a great player. They've improved in some ways that were not foreseen, and they're going to go to a good bowl, and they deserve credit. But the Shiloh Sanders thing is a travesty.
He sucks. He's a very bad football player.
From KU to K-State. K-State played the night game. They had Cincinnati. I said on Friday's show, we were going to know right away what kind of game it was going to be for K-State, like what kind of effort, what kind of energy they had in them. If things had really just completely gone sour for that team and for that locker room, or if they still had some fight in them. 3 and out, opening drive touchdown. It was belt to ass for 60 minutes. They beat up on Cincinnati 41-15. Avery Johnson is healthy again. That's the biggest thing to take away from that game. And Chris Kleiman said as much in his Monday press conference that, yeah, we didn't run Avery a lot after Colorado because he hadn't been real healthy. And Saturday was the healthiest he's been. And he ran for 34 yards. I think his longest run of the year was the first offensive play of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Just changes everything for how you have to defend them. The emergence of Trey Spivey giving the passing game another weapon has been really exciting. DJ Giddens was back in form. The defense was lights out on 3rd down and forced Cincinnati into 0 for 5 on 4th downs. It was a beatdown. It was exactly what you wanted to see, what I think you needed to see that the last couple of weeks certainly have been disappointing for K-State. There's no erasing that, but it was not, as it turns out, a symptom of some deeper rot within the program. They were just reeling a little bit. They needed to find their mojo. They found it over the course of 60 minutes, and they beat up Cincinnati.
Did what they had to do. Now, that was a TCOB game. You got to take care of business. You got to go out there and reassert who are you as a program, who are your players as individuals, what are you made of, and to stay alive for the Big 12 championship game. That feels like a little bit of an afterthought beyond, it's weird to have a team with as many wins as K-State has be in a playing for pride kind of situation, but I think that's what that game was. I mean, you had to go out and kind of put a little shine on the K-State name, I think, and that's what they did. And getting Avery involved in the running game was important. I would have hated to be Cincinnati planning for that game, to be completely honest with you. Like, if you know about K-State as a program, you know about Chris Kleiman as a coach, I would not have wanted to be Scott Satterfield in that game and during preparation for that, because you knew they were going to come out, they were going to hit you with everything they had, because it's just not like them to not do that. So Cincinnati tried. Brendan Sorsby made some terrible decisions. I should also add that Brendan Mott, credit to him for holding on to the interception.
Cool moment for a really likable kid and a 6-year senior, big part of that program. Wish he could have finished that in the end zone. That would have been the best.
It would have been awesome. But at the same time, that's a pass the sticks moment if you're Brendan Sorsby. That's when you're playing Madden with your buddies and you go down 21-0 and they say, pass the sticks, you're out of this one. We're starting again and you're not playing. That's what Brendan Sorsby was this weekend. Sometimes you just don't have it. Sometimes you are Mitch Lightfoot trying to guard Angel Delgado. You just don't have it. And that was him this weekend.
Do you feel better or worse about K-State's chances to win Farmageddon after Saturday? Where
better.
I feel a lot better because Iowa State went and struggled with Utah.
If it makes sense, I both simultaneously feel better, but also my feelings haven't changed, because I expected K-State to come out and to play with some pride and to play with urgency in this game. Had they lost to Cincinnati, like, whoa, that would have severely changed what I felt about next week, but I also would never have expected them to come out flat again. So if that makes sense, like, my expectations haven't changed, but that's because I expected something good out of them this week.
Sure.
No, I think K-State can get Iowa State. Certainly.
I do too.
I will call it right now, because we have limited sports talk time this week. I think that game is going to be a banger. I'm expecting, you know, Rocco Beck's my guy. I am expecting that game to be like played in the 30s or higher. I think we're going to get a great game.
I think we're going to see the best of K-State's offense all year. Something that we should note, Tim Fitzgerald been calling for this for weeks. Our K-State insider from GoPowerCat.com. He's been saying they need to get Connor Riley out of the booth and back down on the field with his offensive line. They did that. They moved Brian Lepak, the tight ends coach, up to the booth to be the eye in the sky for the offense. And both Connor Riley and Matt Wells were on the sideline. And it felt like the most interconnected offensive performance of the season. I don't think that's a coincidence. I also don't think it's a coincidence that a healthy Avery Johnson made things look really, really good. And I think that his run threat, if he's all the way healthy for Iowa State, is going to make that offense really, really hard for Iowa State to slow down.
Tragically, no snow in the forecast for Ames this weekend.
Tragically or fortunately? I guess it depends on your perspective.
Well, if
right?
you're a K-State fan, you probably still have some post-traumatic stress from last year's snow game. I will say, unfortunately, because I don't know if I love anything more other than my wife than snow football. High of 26 on Saturday. Overnight low will get down to 9. So we're probably looking at mid-teens at kickoff. That is awesome.
That does seem fun.
Yeah.
Cold weather. I love like snow football.
BYOG, buddies. Bring your own guts.
Snow football can be iffy because sometimes there's too much snow and it makes it real sloppy. But like cold weather football, like that's
man ball,
separating the men from the boys.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt about it. Some other things we want to get to before we wrap up. Well, we got about 10 minutes or so to hang out with you here.
Can we get to the elephant in the room? Can we please?
Sure.
We got to talk about Kansas State basketball.
We will.
We got to have a dialogue here. Like you mentioned it earlier. Liberty is good.
That's a solid program. They're in the mid-60s in Ken Palm.
Higher than K-State.
They like averaged 24 wins a year over the last 10, I think. Like they've been in the NCAA tournament. They got veterans, guys who've been in the program a long time. Like that's a solid program. That's a good team. That's not Mississippi Valley State, right? Like that's a good team. That's the kind of mid-major you want to play this time of year.
That being said, you don't max out the Amex on NIL to lose in the Virgin Islands to Liberty if you're Kansas State. And I think the point you made earlier, Dan, when we talked about this earlier on in the show during Good, Bad, and Ugly, is important. That this was not an effort problem for Kansas State, that those guys cared about this. You could see the glumness on the faces.
No, they played hard. Coleman Hawkins busted his tail last night. Doug McDaniel playing hard. Those guys were playing hard last night.
You got to win this game, man. Like, you didn't spend all that NIL money. You didn't give Coleman Hawkins what is allegedly a record-setting bag and go get Doug McDaniel and Brendan Housen, who shot the ball decently at least. and get all these dudes and spend all this money to be number 73 in Ken Palm.
Yeah, going into today. Yeah,
that's not
where you want to be.
Not what you want to be. 72. Okay, yeah, there's 72 in Ken Palm
behind
West Virginia, a team that is completely rebuilding for worse reasons than K-State is rebuilding.
They're down 21 spots in the Torvik too. They started the year at 29. They're down 21 spots, number 50 already in the Torvik.
And I believe in the talent, and I said this last week, and I'll stick with it until proven otherwise, that I do have concerns about the fit for all these guys together. It's just, man, you got to find a way to win that game. And they fought. That's the thing. They fought back. They took a lead briefly at the very end of the game, but you've got to find a way to be able to finish that out. And I think it speaks back to our point about who is that alpha dog going to be? Who is the guy who is going to go get you that shot? If you're a K-State fan, I apologize in advance because you're going to hear from us and from everybody else who covers college basketball, the comparisons to the 22-23 team all year long. But if you needed a shot, you had two guys on that team who were going to get it. And if you could afford a two, you knew it was going to Keontae Johnson. Yeah. You knew he was going to go get it. Yeah. And if you needed a three, it was going to be Marquise Noel. I don't know who it is on this team. It is far too early in the year to say they don't have a guy. Right now they don't. It's too early to say that guy's not going to emerge, but
I like a lot of what I saw down the stretch, like Achor getting whatever he wanted. Like he's got that little flip hook that he does that's about automatic, and Coleman Hawkins was going to the basket and scoring over a smaller defender, and they're definitely a better team with Doug McDaniel at the controls. Let's also remember that when they went down to the Cayman Islands in 2022-23, they needed a last-second shot from Keontae Johnson. I think it was to go to overtime with Nevada, who wasn't particularly good. And that's the difference, right? Like if Doug McDaniel's shot goes in last night, and he got a great, you can't ask for a better look in that spot. He got a great look, and then Gasson just kind of smoked the putback. Under a little too much pressure, put it too hard off the glass. You see that happen all the time. One of those shots goes in, maybe K-State wins the game, and we're sounding a very different tune. It's like, hey, they found a way. They dug a game out of the mud. They were behind all game, but they found a way to rally back. Got to make shots, like make or miss game.
Noel in 2022 against Nevada in the Cayman Islands made a layup with 11 seconds to go, and then Nevada didn't get a shot off to end regulation. And then in overtime, K-State won by 9. So, yeah, I mean, you got to find somebody, though. It has to be somebody. And right now, this team does not have that. And can he be better? Can he still be a tournament team?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to have so many chances. Every game in the Big 12 is a chance to add a quality win.
Yes, but
it's quality wins to get you the tournament. It's not quad 2 losses that keep you out.
I agree with that. I do think, though, Riley Gates, who we've had on the program before from On3 Sports, formerly of Go Power Kid, I do think he made a good point after the game, though. He did say, this doesn't mean you can't be an NCAA tournament team or win the Big 12 or anything like that, but you also now can't afford to trick one off against Oklahoma State.
Right.
A game like that suddenly has a little more pressure on it because
now you have to make all your 3-footers, your 3-foot putts in conference play.
You can't miss the few bad Big 12 teams. You can't blow the games against them now.
Yeah, that is certainly true. KU took the weekend off. They play Duke in Vegas tomorrow night.
Yes. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, you'll have more about that on tomorrow's edition of 580 Sports Talk. Last thing we got to get to, the Royals apparently don't like us very much because they made a trade 30 minutes after we went off the air on Friday. A little Friday news dump. For those who missed it, the details of the trade are such. Brady Singer goes from Kansas City to Cincinnati. In return, the Reds send second baseman Jonathan India and outfielder Joey Weimer to the Royals. A quick thought on Brady Singer first. I think we spent a lot of time with Brady Singer the last few years talking about what he couldn't do or wouldn't do. Mm-hmm. And he has defined weaknesses as a pitcher that at this point you just feel like are always going to be weaknesses. For example, not having a third pitch that he can trust, not being able to get left-handers out reliably. Those are weaknesses. That being said, over 5 seasons, put up an ERA of 4.28 to take the ball every time out this past season, 32 starts, put up an ERA of 3.71, to have a career strikeouts per 9 of 8.5 and walk per 9 below 3. That is a solid big league pitcher. And sometimes, again, we focus too much on what people can't do instead of what they can. What Brady Singer could do was take the ball every 5 days and be a reliable mid-rotation guy who, at his best, could get you deep into the game and beat a good team and silence a good lineup.
I think that this trade, and in this moment, simultaneously, you say and really can't deny, Brady Singer played a major role for the Royals in 2024. And you thank him big time because he came up big a few times.
Yeah.
The numbers ended up being good. He was for a lot of the year, third starter, but then, fourth starter on a team that won a bunch of games and made the playoffs. And you say, Brady, thank you. We will remember this season fondly. I also think the Royals sold high, and I think they made the move at the exact right time. I don't know that Brady Singer will be better than he was this year. And there are some underlying advanced metrics that lead you to believe he probably played above what you would have expected out of him with that profile.
He's also going to a ballpark that is much more hitter-friendly in the Great American Ballpark.
That's a great point. And so I was frustrated. Y'all know, could get very frustrated by Brady Singer.
It was easy to get frustrated when you watch him, have trouble with lineups with more than one good left-handed hitter in them.
But by the same token, the numbers were good. You won a bunch this year. He was a homegrown guy. You say, Brady, thank you. And I certainly do. He was part of certainly the most fun Royal season that I've covered since being here. And I appreciate that. And I think the Royals made the move at the perfect time because I would expect next year he takes a step back statistically, and you needed a leadoff guy. And I don't think you could afford to take a huge step back in the rotation, and you need a leadoff guy.
The Jayhawker asks in the YouTube comment who takes Singer's place in the rotation, and I think they've got 3 in-house options. 2 of them are guys they could convert back to starting from relieving, Chris Bubich and Daniel Lynch. The other is Kyle Wright, who won 20 games for the Braves 2 years ago. And then his shoulder went, and he wasn't very good in 2023. And it was really bad, in fact, in 2023. But 2022, won 20 games, which nobody does anymore. Royals signed him to a 2-year deal. He effectively rehabbed last year. He's going to be somebody who I think has an opportunity to win that starting role. And again, at his best in 2022, it's kind of a profile that looks a lot like Brady Singer. Strikeout per 9, near 9. Walks per 9 below 3, home runs per 9 below 1, like solid mid-rotation arm, Kyle Wright. Like if he's all the way back to health, I think there's a reasonable chance he can replace what Brady Singer gave them last year. There will also be some low-cost options on the free agent market. Maybe Mike Lorenzen comes back after the Royals had a run with him. So
I can live with that.
That could be an option as well. The Royals get, in return, Jonathan India, and he was going to bat leadoff for the Kansas City Royals in 2025. Where he will play is up for debate. He was an average defender last year at second base. That's the best he's ever been. Michael Massey is a better defender at second base. Jonathan India was likely to move off of second base for the Reds last year, but they had an injury. He had to stay at second base, and with injury troubles all year long, he just ended up not moving off the Keystone. I wonder if Jonathan India moves to left field because first base is not realistic.
Nope.
DH is not realistic. Nope. I wonder if left field is where Jonathan India moves, or does Michael Massey move to center? That could be a possibility as well. The one thing that is for certain, though, is that Jonathan India has a skill set that nobody else in the Royals has, and that is the ability to watch ball 4 and get on base. A .357 on base percentage last year, a career .352 on base. India feels like a disappointing player because he's never been as good as he was when he won the Rookie of the Year in 2021. He had 21 home runs. He batted .269. He had a .376 on base and a .459 slug, and all of those things are still career highs for him. But again, Jonathan India gets on base. What did the Royals never find anybody to do in front of Bobby Witt Jr. last year?
Get on base.
Get on base. So that in itself is an upgrade. Is he a perfect player? No, much in the same way that Brady Singer is not a perfect pitcher. But does he represent an upgrade on what was there previously for the Royals? Hell yeah, he does.
To be frank, and maybe this is not acknowledging the importance of a good fielder at the K enough, I care about Jonathan India's offense about 50 times more than I care about where he's going to play defensively. Put him in left field. I don't really care. Like, is he an equal fielder to MJ Melendez in left field? And you'll say, equal fielder? MJ Melendez stinks in the outfield. Okay, but you know what he doesn't do? Completely suck at the plate as well, save for one pitch every 3 games. Like, he gets on base. He's going to be more productive for you at the plate. I will take that trade-off every single time. So if he's any better than Melendez in left as a fielder, and he's going to give you more value at the plate, great. Starting left fielder and leadoff hitter Jonathan India. I'm good with it. I'm sorry to anyone who just loves playing left field or right field or whatever and cares about that position passionately. You can teach dudes to play the outfield. If your coaching staff is worth a damn, you can teach dudes to play a corner outfield spot. I'm not worried about that.
The Royals also got Joey Wiemer back in the trade. Joey Wiemer is a outfielder who was at one time a top 100 prospect, but underwhelmed in his debut with Milwaukee in 2023. Got traded to Cincinnati last year, got one plate appearance with Cincinnati, and now comes to the Royals. Big kid, 6'4", 225, right-handed hitter, can play center field. Somebody on Blue Sky said that Joey Wiemer is the Drew Waters of Kyle Isbell's. And I can't think of a better way to sum it up than that. He is very similar.
Dog, if that's the case, I hope he loves Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah, he's going to start in Omaha, and whether we see him or not will depend on what happens. My final thought on that is that I'd hope that Jonathan India is not the best hitter the Royals add this offseason, but
it's a key piece.
It is. It's an important piece to get somebody who can get on base in front of Bobby Witt Jr. and company. Let's do a final word, shall we, to wrap up our little video-only experiment?
One more thing.
In conclusion,
You better wrap it up.
K-State men are just about to tip off on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We are going to wrap up this video stream here on our 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel and on Facebook with a final word. Brendan Dworzinski, what do you got?
I think KU's going bowling. They had to beat Colorado, and KU did that. KU beat down Colorado. In fact, Devin Neal was awesome. Jalen Daniels was quite good as well. The defense came up with stops when they needed to most at the end of the game. They're playing with belief. They're playing with pride. And I hope for these guys that they pull off a win coming up this Saturday against Baylor. And I hope they get to a bowl game. I don't know how many of these dudes are going to play in that. Like, from Devin Neal, I ain't playing in that bowl game. Like, he's given his everything to KU. I would be shocked if he played in a bowl game. But if they can get to that honor and they can earn bowl eligibility, legends, they're already legends forever, but I hope for their sake they get it done.
Final word for me, I use a phrase a lot, championship equity. When a team has won a championship, or in the case of the Kansas City Chiefs, 3, you tend to give them credit or believe a little bit more that if things are going wrong, they can repair those things. The Chiefs have as much championship equity as any team in any sport in the world. That's why I think you can still have some faith that the defense will be able to get their problems fixed. That being said, they clearly don't have the personnel at defensive back that they've had in recent years. I don't know if there's any fixing that by the end of the year. What might help fix it? An improved pass rush. Charles Omenihu's coming back. That'll help a lot, but they've got to find some other ways to fix that and start taking the quarterback to the ground. Otherwise, it could feel like the early Patrick Mahomes years where it's going to need to be the offense that carries this football team if they want to win a third straight Lombardi trophy. Folks, that does it for us here on 580 Sports Talk today. We will have a more traditional show for you on terrestrial radio and these video streams tomorrow from 3 to 6, and then we'll do it again on Wednesday from 3 to 6. But I will not be part of it. I'm going on vacation starting tomorrow. I am going to introduce my dad's side of the family in Colorado to my son, and I'm very much looking forward to that and taking a couple of days off for the holiday. So Brendan's got you. You'll hear from Spencer for the next 2 days. All sorts of guests. Mitch Holtz is going to come on tomorrow. Michael Swain is going to come on tomorrow. You're going to hear from Matt Derrick and Tim Fitzgerald.
Rick Peterson tomorrow.
Lots of great guests coming your way over the next couple of days, along with Brendan and Spencer. So hope you'll enjoy that. Thank you so much again for tuning in. For Spencer and Brendan, I am Dan Lucero, bidding you a great rest of your Monday, and for me, wishing all of you a very happy Thanksgiving. Talk to you soon.